Hello there, welcome here to another Kerfuffle showcase, and I am delighted here today to have Amy from the Chief Executive, of WeCOMPLETE. How are you today, Amy?
I'm very well, thank you, Simon.
Very good, very good. Nice to see you, nice, cheerful. Let's take this in. We have a very excitingly titled Conveyancing Reimagined, It's Time for Change.
Absolutely, it is time for change.
It is time for change, not least because as we're recording this a little bit in advance of obviously the stamp duty expiring, but if that doesn't focus people's minds as to the absolute relevance and importance of this, then frankly nothing will.
Absolutely, what a tough time we've all been through, but it's really highlighted there's some issues in this industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, let's be very honest. There's a lot of obviously fantastic. There are other shows available out there, as we say there, and not least we do a lot ourselves. But I think and there's a lot of products that, on the face of it, you need to take a bit of time to understand what is different about those. And I don't think there's any doubt that we need to spend that time to do it. And I think one of the key elements there is, Amy, is I asked you for a few sort of standout things that right at the start of the show is going to get people's attention. And as you highlighted to me offside, you said, look, with your solution, completions are regularly achieved in under 28 days. You know, there's an average 6 weeks reduction in completion times, and fall through rates are reduced to a third of the national average. Now, I don't really know a better triple whammy of reasons why people should pay attention on the back of that. But can you just give us a bit of background as to how can a digital platform like yours speed up the process so much?
Absolutely. So for the first time, this is a true end-to-end software. This is a full CRM system for conveyancers. It's totally reimagined the way that they work. This isn't about case tracking. This isn't about watching and monitoring traditional work. This is about them working in a new way and the agents benefiting from that. So we've built some fantastic innovative technology. I mean, it's world-leading stuff. So the conveyancer can benefit from all of those things. In turn, the client feels cared for, and the action happens more quickly, more frequently, and the agent is in their own branded version of our technology, showcasing what it is that they do towards completions. And let's face it, estate agents have never had their name in lights with completions. They're often blamed, they're often clubbed in with the poor work or potentially the confusion. This is fully transparent, a full system that has totally reimagined the way that the process of completions happen.
And I've made the mistake a couple of times of mentioning that case tracking element, and you've been quick to say, no, it's not just about case tracking. It's not, there's far more to it than this. Just so we understand though as well, and I'll slap my hand and I'll make sure I don't do that again. Just give us a bit of background though. Where does WeCOMPLETE come from? Give us the background about, how you guys came to try and solve these massive structural issues that there are within the industry.
It's an interesting process, conveyancing, and it changes according to the case. So building technology for the process is very tricky. We split it down into 37 different scenarios, 37 different actions that may need to take place during a completion. We looked at every single one of those elements and asked, how can we add technology here to make it easier for everybody involved? Take, for example, the onboarding process. We produce with every quotation the choice for the agents of the conveyancers that they work with. So comparison quoting in every quote, if that's how the agent wants to see it. So the client is looking across some of the top 10 law firms all at the same time. Okay, now we haven't got to shop around. That's the first thing. Yeah. We have been able to gain some fantastic fees through the system because, of course, we're quoting for an awful lot of cases. Yeah. So we know we're competitive. Tick, the client hasn't got to go and shop around. Okay, so now onboarding. Onboarding is an incredibly drawn out process, and it's something that many applications have tried to obtain the answer to. We don't insist that conveyancers work with our paperwork. We take their paperwork, we share it with all the parties that are within the quote. The signatures are gained electronically in email from the client. Of course, the client expects for this to be able to be done on a Sunday night, 11 p.m. If they want to instruct the conveyancer, they then want to read through the paperwork, instruct anti-money laundering done instantly via application. And then when the conveyancer looks at the case, we have dropped into the Property Hub all the legal numbers, the UPRNs, the title plans, all the details of the property as it's stored legally is displayed to the conveyancer. And then, of course, all the paperwork, the onboarding forms that have been seen, questions raised potentially by the client, all there and waiting to go. Onboarding in less than 10 minutes. Why not? It's easy. Yes, but what we've got to do is give the conveyancer knowledge of the property. So bringing that data in, we've got to give the client access to all the forms. And then from there on, being able to electronically sign, of course, any paperwork, but interestingly, send it away again for witness, send it away again for another witness. These intricacies haven't been dealt with previous. So things like mortgage deeds that have a particular cycle that they need to go through. There hasn't been a piece of technology that's addressed that particular document has to be dealt with in that particular way. We've addressed it. The conveyancers that use our platform are telling us we remove 50% of working hours. So of course they can complete more quickly and they can give more attention to the important things. The reason why we want a conveyancer, 80% of the process of conveyancing is paper pushing. Yeah. All we've done is take that down to 80% less time. And so in the process of the completion, in essence, we've just made it easier for everybody. Now, the case tracking happens just naturally because the CRM is being used by the conveyancer, physically working within the platform, then the agent and the client can communicate within the platform and see it happening. We don't do ticking off small milestones that might have questions unanswered. It's full transparency of the calendar, making sure you understand the pace and the things that the conveyancer are waiting for. The relaxation of the client is very, very easy to see. They say, you know, it's just so nice to be able to see everything. It might not be relevant to me, but at least I know what's going on. We have this when we order a Domino's pizza, you can watch it being made. And this is the
Amy, to be honest, were you just saying that because you looked at me and thought that was what I was going to be interested in?
I just love things like that. You know, the kids order a pizza and I can watch it coming. You know, when is it here? When is it here? We'll watch the app. This is life now.
It is. We talk about this all the time. The Uberization of things is it has forced you, if you don't get something within 7 minutes and the ability to track that down to it, it doesn't matter whether, you know, it doesn't matter what industry, and that's the standard you're now being held to, isn't it?
Absolutely, and so we should. Conveyancing is exceedingly traditional, and that's because there are a lot of regulations around it, and those regulations are there for a good reason. So we've worked with many different law firms as we've been building this technology to say, look, you know, where are the gaps that we can fill for you, and where are things that we really can't do anything about? You've got to sit and read that contract. A human being has got to sit and read that. How about if we expose it to you in this particular format, and then you can tick it off and write comments, etc. within here? That's as much as we can do for that particular process. But let's make sure that your client knows you've read it. Yeah. You know, the simple things.
Well, you mentioned simple there, and I'm assuming my parents called me Simon because they knew I was going to grow up incredibly simple. But what I think you highlighted there that should, you know, again, sometimes it can be difficult to point out the intricacies of why this works. But if 80% of that process is paper shuffling and moving that around, and actually what technology is great at is helping with that, that you don't need to go to, if we take one thing away from this whole webinar that we're looking at here, is that makes absolute sense. And I think the second follow-on from that, which does make, given my old CRM background, is rather than remembering to make these milestone checks, is I think the clever bit, if I understand it right, is from what you're saying, is if the guys are using the CRM there anyway, though, as part of their day-to-day process, that's just being done in, you know, without, I must remember to do that.
That's right. The conveyancers don't need another job to do.
No, of course they don't.
They're working in multiple systems, even, you know, before they have to log into another system and update it. And there are some integrations available, but of course those milestone updates are limited. They give limited information, and being able to tick off that the research, that the searches have been received back, opens up a whole array of questions for me as the consumer. The searches might be back, but are there problems with them? Are there questions that we need to, you know, study now? Are there things that we were expecting? Could I please see the searches as a consumer? And those things are often, you know, hard-walled away from the consumer. And what we do is we expose this data with the, you know, the conveyancer, making sure that they're exposing the data at the right time, in the right place, having reviewed the things themselves. But things like having sight of your searches, being able to look yourself and seeing, does it match up to what I was expecting to see? There's a little trick in our system that agents really, really help with. As soon as a client has instructed the conveyancer, we expose to all parties the data on the property. And often we see the vendor of the property querying the title plan. And they don't really ever normally see their own title plans. They're not something that's commonplace. So having it, you know, right in front of them, you often see a vendor and an agent saying, is this how you thought it was going to be? Because this is slightly marked differently. Oh no, absolutely, it's not how we understand it. Raising that early prevents a delay 3 months down the line. You know, this is a big deal. And it's that kind of thing that's technology versus human that we just adore.
So that, I mean, that's one key. I was just about to ask you, how does the full transparency help with that whole agent-client relationship? That's just one very tangible element there, isn't it? Deal with it at a time when you have got a bit of time to do it, rather than when it all becomes a snowball effect at the end, doesn't it? And, you know, for whatever reason, things can collapse.
We have a fabulous agent. He's an independent in Yorkshire. Great guy, really adopted this. He takes his quotation tool out on his mobile when he is onboarding a vendor. And he says to them, look, let's get you in with your conveyancer super early. It costs you nothing. But what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to look at all these plans, look at all your TA6, TA10s, everything we need to do legally. We're going to get you ready at the point of which we're not all stressed about it. No. So he puts in his vendors on the same day that he puts them to market. And we start this process, and we see this wonderful dialogue between them that is exposed to the conveyancer. So it's a conversation between him and client about the title plans, about the fixtures and fittings forms, because this can be really relevant to the offer that is made on the property. Are you leaving the series of garden sheds here? You know, they have value. And I mean, we've seen a lot of home offices now. We need to talk about these things earlier. So he gets his client in, they discuss all these things, and then all that conversation and the results of it exposed to the conveyancer so they can see the outcome. And then everybody sits and says, okay, fantastic. We also do something else with him where we pre-order the searches. So he can take his vendor on board. So would you like to pre-order your searches? We may or may not be able to sell them on at the end of the day. 9 times out of 10, we will be able to sell them. So let's get them ordered so that we can say to your buyers, you know, 3 weeks probably to convert this property rather than 3 months. Yeah. And it's that kind of thing that, you know, if agents were asked what they wanted conveyancing to be, this is what it would be.
It strikes me that there's so much of this as well, not to demean any other part of it, but it is as well as just about being as proactive as you can possibly be.
Absolutely. And agents can choose. I mean, really, there are varying types of agents, all different makes and shapes. And this technology is about you using this to what suits your business best. So it might be that you choose 20 conveyancers to display in the quotation tool because you know your clients are the type that shop around and want the most cost-effective route. It might be that you're a bespoke agent and you want bespoke conveyancing. And that's, again, we build those relationships in the system. That's one thing that surprised me about WeCOMPLETE is the relationships that have built between agent and conveyancer. So generally we start with 4 to 5 conveyancers in the system, and then the agent will say to us, these 2 are just absolutely brilliant. I get along with them. They know what I'm after. We're going to reduce our number of conveyancers quoting the system to just those 2. and we're going to do vendors to these and buyers to those, and it's sales.
See, I love that. I absolutely, because one of the elements you talk about is many agents have often said, you know, often some of the better ones have said, look, I'm not interested in it as a referral mechanism. The most important for me is that I just want to be able to rely on them. So first of all, that element is ticked in the box there, that you over time you can do it. But also technology, I was going to say, does it unfairly get it? No, I think probably fairly. It gets often talked about depersonalizing is a relationship. And what you're highlighting here is actually quite the opposite there. It's actually highlighting through stats and the reality of working closely to be able to compare effectively and genuinely come up with the best partner for you for your own business.
Absolutely. So our conveyancers are across an array of different sorts of legal teams. We have top 5 legal teams, and we have bespoke, you know, very, very small teams. And what we try and do is suggest pairing up. I mean, an agent, if they get along very well with a conveyancer they already have, we will, of course, pop them into the system and they can work with their current conveyancer this way. But often the introductions result in some fabulous relationships that mean that, you know, the agent can say to their client, look, I frequently work with this conveyancer. We're frequently completing in a timescale that suits our clients. The delays are virtually zero. You're going to enjoy this. She's so efficient. And within our system, the conveyancers assign themselves onto the case. They say, it's me looking after this case. This is my case, and this is my team. And then the agent and the client can communicate with them within the platform in a messenger style system, which seems to be less formal than email, but super efficient in terms of read receipts and timescale returns. Clients enjoy it on their mobile phone, conveyancers enjoy it in their email, but it just means that it's a little bit more relaxed and everybody's communicating more frequently rather than one email a week. We usually see 3 to 4 messages a day between all the parties. So, you know, that chatter is client relationship gold.
Yes.
And that's where we see those relationships blossoming.
Brilliant. And look, you mentioned there right at the outset, there have been in the past many different sorts of platforms that have just completely fallen by the wayside. There are others obviously out there at the moment. Why do you think so many of these have struggled to resonate with, but I suppose both parties, or just to make it work?
It's very, very straightforward to me. Every platform I've ever seen come to market in the past has added work to the conveyancer's workload.
Simple as that.
Rather than remove it.
Yeah. So, and by definition, the minute you start doing that, you're not going to be in a particularly happy place, are you, in terms of efficiency, in terms of the thing getting done? The minute that anything is added to your own workday, you know yourself that the task is less likely to get completed.
Absolutely. Technology has got to remove the mundane tasks and add efficiency. And until we were able to do that for conveyancers, you know, we weren't going to see time reduced. I mean, even in the worst possible time for conveyancing, we've seen an average 6-week reduction on cases. We're absolutely certain that if we keep going the way we are, we're building out various different applications for the conveyancer, we're going to be seeing cases go through on an average of 3 to 4 weeks. Wow. And that changes the revenue stream for the agents so significantly. This is important.
Of course it is. I mean, that's absolutely vital, isn't it, in terms of making it. And again, I can't, never more so in this year of obviously, you know, of how busy it is and people trying to turn those pipelines around. So just talk us through just some of the actual sort of the fundamentals about the service. So is it branded as WeCOMPLETE? How does the platform look to the different partners?
We're an ingredient brand. We absolutely know that the most important thing is that the agent has their branding lights first and foremost. So it's always branded as the agent. It sits within their website if they see fit. The login to the property hub sits within their website so that the client returns and keeps returning to the agent for their completion rather than sent out to a third-party brand. One of the most important things in comparisons across other applications that are out there is the confusion of the client as to why am I now dealing with such and such, who the hell is this emailing me now? Yeah. All emails are from the agency, all of them branded, every return of the client, every login. We see on average 40 logins per conveyancing case. So that's 40 returns to the brand of the agent. And let's face it, if that's a good journey and everybody has a great time in that process, we've really helped to reaffirm the relationship with that brand. And of course, hopefully help the agent get the client to return in the future. Talk about them. You know, it's so important to us that we're an ingredient brand, and it isn't our brand that the clients know.
That's fantastic. And I think it's really important because, of course, one of the really depressing facts of life today is the amount of phishing, scamming that goes on there. People are, you know, they are getting very, very nervous about, you know, looking at entering information into something they don't feel 100% familiar with. So I think that's a really clever and needed thing, because otherwise, you know, that people would be holding back from providing this information, would they?
Absolutely. I mean, they're going to have to share data that is very, very important data for the completion process, but it's pretty much every bit of data that you hold privately to yourself. So you've got to feel secure. It is a fantastically secure system, but being branded as the agent, it's familiar. And of course, logging in through their website, again, really important to reaffirm that security.
I think one of the things that let's face it, people's expectations in this area as well are often so low as well. So you're going to get a double bounce, aren't you? If people actually know, that wasn't that bad, or actually that was pretty streamlined, you are going to separate yourself from the competition even more so than you can in many other areas.
Well, we hope that agents will go out to their evaluations and say, you know, we're not only this, but we also can convert this property in a timescale that suits you.
Yeah.
If you're looking for people put their properties to auction, for example, because they're guaranteed a 28-day completion. Well, you know, maybe we might consider putting it to open market instead, and then getting yourself absolutely ready. Let's get those searches done. Let's get your paperwork done so that you can convert really quickly. And I mean, we have seen cases go through 16 days, 18 days, even in the past few months. So we hope that the vendor will listen to the agent and think, do you know what, that is a real USP. That is so different. These guys can provide my conveyancing, look after me, guide me, and it's a layer of service that no one else does.
Yeah.
Big, strong thing.
Absolutely. And I was going to ask again, can this reduce the time spent on sales progressing? But it's a clear tick in the box there again, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a dashboard for the agents to see all the properties. It can be filtered and studied in various different ways, but ultimately on an instant basis, anybody with a client on the phone can open it and see full detail. So anybody within the office, and that again is reality. You know, you can always guarantee you're out of the office when your client calls to ask questions, in-depth questions. But any of your colleagues can open that dashboard, drill into the property hub, have a conversation about what they can see, and then ask a question in full visibility of their client. So if the conveyancer, you know, hasn't made something clear, then, you know, as an agent, you can ask that question, copy in your client, and then they can see the answer when it comes back. Again, putting the agent in lights rather than, you know, sales progressing is often done behind closed doors. Your clients don't see how hard it is. So this is putting that out on the public forum for the client to see, so that they can see exactly how hard you work to progress.
So it's making the invisible visible, because quite rightly, how can you possibly expect the public to understand, you know, what all this tremendous work, the reason why conveyancers are so stressed out at the moment, unless they have this kind of better understanding from the greater transparency that you provide.
Absolutely, transparency is key. And we go back to that Uber effect. You know, why isn't conveyancing like that? Why can't we see everything? And I understand there's some good technologies out there where you can see some parts, but, you know, fully understanding the date, the date and time that your conveyancer asked inquiries to the other party, when they're expecting the results back, you know, how did they send those inquiries? You know, being able to share those inquiries with the client, all those things that you would be so normal to share, but they never have been before.
No.
And it's the intricate detail. I mean, this is your biggest asset. This is your major thing in your life, you want to understand when you're purchasing what it is that you're purchasing and the full detail. I know in the past when I've bought property, I have just trusted my conveyancer.
Yeah, that was very much my approach.
Yeah, just trust. I'm not sure that we're in society now that is happy with that anymore. We've got to see it with our own eyes.
Well, famously, nobody trusts experts anymore, do they? And quoted out there, and that is the reality of the situation there. If they can't see it tangibly for themselves, they think there's something funny going on. So you can either pretend that that dynamic isn't happening, or you can step actually not just up to the level of expectation, but way beyond it, which is what it seems to be happening here.
Yeah, we like to call this digital conveyancing. Just imagine that the whole process is digitalized. If there's a client that doesn't wish to partake in electronic signature, of course we have workarounds. We have practical workarounds. But in reality, a document library for the property, full of the documents ordered, that the client can graze through if they have concerns or they have queries at midnight on a Saturday. And that's when things cross your mind. You know, the reality is the client is troubled by something. And it is always going to be in the middle of the night. So open through the agent's website. Here's my reassuring agent. He's got me covered. I'm just going to look in here and make sure this is okay. That really is helping our agents, you know, give that reassurance to their clients that it isn't just a service. It isn't just conveyancing, but this is the next level of conveyancing. This is conveyancing growing up.
Okay. And growing up is always something I challenge myself to do, which obviously this Peter Pan exterior. But talk to us though. So this is a CRM package that the conveyancers themselves can use. So does that mean the agents have to use a conveyancer that is using your CRM? How does it work on that sort of on that side of things?
We offer both sides. So we have a full arrangement of conveyancers of all makes and shapes and sizes within the platform. But if the agent has a great relationship with a conveyancer and they want to bring that relationship into the platform, of course we make the offering to the conveyancer. We do some training, get them used to the digital process and format. Conveyancers are always very welcoming. I mean, this is removing a lot of their work, so a lot of the mundane tasks are automated. So they're very grateful for it, and of course we can help those relationships that are good as well as introduce new ones.
Okay, and saving the last, some of the most important questions till the end. Are there referral fees available as well through the platform? Is that's not taken away from agents? There's still that capability.
Absolutely, referral fees are popped within the quotations, and the agent is in full control of those. They can alter and adjust according to the quote or the law firm that they're working with. They can remove referral fees if they so wish, and they're always paid on completion. So yeah, it's a very good revenue stream as well. Why not?
Absolutely great. So no need to change their models if that is a key element of what they're trying to do. Is the key thing is you're just going to fit in around their model, but it's about still bringing those efficiencies, however they you know, whatever the kind of type of agent they are.
Yes, no matter commercially, no matter how they work, this is a SaaS product. It is to work for them. This isn't to change the way that they work. This is to enhance the way they work. So no matter how they commercialize their business, this fits in.
I keep, if I'm honest, Amy, I keep making, well, lots of mistakes, but one of the key mistakes I've done is that I overly obsess over just what the agents think. And I tend to, you know, and okay, quite rightly, I want to get their feedback all the time. What I think everyone in this industry has been guilty of is forgetting ultimately what the agent's own customer and clients gets out of this. What's the feedback you hear from them? Because ultimately they will be the ones that define, you know, whether this is a success or not, won't they? Do you get that feedback back through to you about how the actual and ultimately the end client is enjoying this process?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the feedback from the client, what we hear an awful lot is pure relief. Just that relief that you know, it hasn't been stressful. It hasn't been a blindfold experience. The agents are reporting that they are gaining more work, more vendors are coming to them through referrals from their clients that have experienced this relief. You know, the client is actually the most impressed with this system out of all of our customers, the conveyancers, the agents. The client is the most impressed. They feel secure, they feel in knowledge, and they feel that they've had a transparent, well-priced and efficient process. Now that is rare in conveyancing.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's why, again, hats off. I don't know whether we came up with it or whether you did, but that the whole title, Conveyancing Reimagined, It's Time for Change, is absolutely relevant, isn't it, in terms of here? And if we, I just can't think of a better time in terms of that you could possibly, you know, be getting out here. If people are coming to the end of this whole stamp duty process, the fairly uneasy relationship between conveyancers and agents has been at its most jarred and everything else there. If they're coming out, or if you guys, agents, are coming out on the other side thinking, think something has to change, there must be a better way to do this. This is the time, isn't it, to sit back and say, on the other side of it, let's look at what the future can look like. And I think now's the time to talk about, you've been incredibly generous as well, knowing how much time, energy goes on. Can you just talk to us about, again, the special offer you've put on the table for the Kerfuffle members as well, as I understand it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the Kerfuffle members, we've put out an offer for 3 months free. So we want you to be able to trial some cases before you jump on board with us. But ultimately, you know, being able to pick a couple of different types of consumer. We deal with all types of legal work. So we do auction property, we do commercial property, mixed commercial residential, resale, new build. So whatever it is that you're dealing with and you want to trial it, 3 months is plenty of time for you to pop a couple of cases through and just watch it work and see how it can reform your business.
And reform your business, exactly the key point here is just one question out to everybody watching there again is, what does this do to your pipeline? If you can get that average 6 weeks reduction in completion times, think how that transforms your your own figures. Work your numbers on that basis. And why would you possibly not, you know, talk to Amy and the team here about it, experiencing that? As you've said, thank you so much for, again, thinking of our Kerfuffle members there to suck it and see and to check if this genuinely is the future of conveyancing as we see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most relevant to agents is the fall through rate reduction. National average at 25% fall through. WeCOMPLETE average 8.1%. I mean, this is fundamentally, you know, it can fundamentally change the pipeline, as you rightly say. The reason why we don't have the fall through rates is because of the transparency of data so early. Yeah. Now, if we were going to have a fall through, it would happen within the first week, not in 3 months' time. Yeah. Let's face it, that data is shared. Everybody's talking about the issues all together super early. So the fall through rate is reduced to 8.1, but equally, you as an agent, in essence, you haven't got the issue of that property bouncing back to market. You've identified all the issues, and client, if they've changed their mind, does it super early. Yeah. So it isn't about going 3 months and then that fall through happens. It's getting that fall through really super early.
Amy, there are many sorts of efficiencies you can get out of this, and you've obviously been quite clear and concise about that. But the one I can throw from my own is, I've spent 48 hours over the last weekend listening to my parents who have spent 6 months for it literally to fall through at the last, and I didn't even understand the reasoning why. And they are literally, and you can imagine, quite stressed and everything else there. The blame, honestly, my mum has got blame for everybody in the process here. It was quite disheartening, and that's why I said tune in to when we have this, because how could it not help? And I definitely, I know it for a fact it would have.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some very relevant facts in a case that takes 6 months. Mortgage offers expire. People have to go back for mortgage offers again. That can be really relevant. That's a big deal in fall throughs. So let's get this process faster so that doesn't occur. You know, if not everybody wants to move super quickly, but everybody wants to move efficiently. So, you know, that exchange date could have been 3 months earlier and everybody know where they stand. Hearing 6 months to complete on a property, just it's not even in our world. You know, we just don't have that happen. Communication is key to most things in life, whether it be an automation or whether it be, you know, a phone call or an email. You know, communication is absolutely key, and all of the fall throughs that I've experienced in my 20 years of agency prior to this have been, you know, rattled by lack of communication, most certainly.
Yeah, well, all I can say is I wish that we had known about WeCOMPLETE all those months ago, because we could have saved ourselves all this arguing over the weekend, and we could have got back to arguing about Brexit and all the good old, all the good old things that we normally fight about.
Yeah, we normally do.
So, well, Amy, that's absolutely fantastic. I think what would be fascinating over the coming weeks and months as well is get a panel of some of your clients there. Maybe really interesting to understand from the solicitor's point of view and the agent's point of view why this happy marriage. And I'm not going to say you're like the Cilla Black at all. That matching.
Oh, I'd love to be.
Oh, we won't do the song. That's not. We're a serious show at our core. But I just want to kind of summarize again, Amy. Let's just look at this. So you can showcase your work under your own brand as an estate agency. So all the credit is due, comes back to yourself, familiarity, all that trust element there. That's a big tick in the box, number one, isn't it?
Huge.
Secondly, reduce completion times to 28 days across all types of cases. Again, the reason, probably the first reason they should be coming to you. And then finally, as well, just increase revenue and improve cash flow with referral-free revenue. Sorry, referral-free revenue there as well is the final part of that triumvirate of reasons, I would suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a reason not to?
Even better. You did. Thank you. You did my job for me there. So that's really good. And again, just to reiterate, not just a case tracking system, that is absolutely
not just case tracking, absolutely a fully new, reimagined way to convey that really only the best conveyancers are ready for. And we're really seeing some superb conveyancers joining us saying, yes, this is exactly what we need at our fingertips.
That's great. And just one thing element just occurred to me there, isn't it? You know, conveyancers get a terrible reputation. Some of it deserve, again, but in the same way that, you know, agents will protest themselves again. Well, not all agents are like that. We do need to understand that the reverse is true. And I'm guessing what a platform like yours does do is give those good ones the ability to shine and get, you know, to become available to the other agents who frankly just kind of threw their hands up in the air.
Absolutely. We find some real gems. It's exactly the same as agency. There are some middle of the road, there are some brilliant agents, and we try and hunt out the brilliant conveyancers. So when we make calls and we discuss WeCOMPLETE with conveyancers, you can see some of them, the talented, sort of, I'm not even going to say younger, because really that's not the case. The experienced conveyancers been working years in the industry, their eyes light up when they see it. Yes, this is it. Yes, thank you. Instead of giving us another job, you've taken 3 away. Oh my goodness, it does this. Brilliant. That's exactly what I would build if I could build technology. And so if this excites the conveyancer, when they start to work in it, we see their flair come out. We see them spending more time on the clients. They're less posting, you know, there's no snail mail and all of that, and they're waiting for things to come back. They send things to the other party and gain read receipts. I mean, this is just mega for them.
So the key thing there is agents stop having a moan, having a bitch about the fact that these conveyancers, you know, are still sending faxes and everything else and refusing email here. You've heard the solution. If you turn your back on it, you've got no one else to blame yourself. Amy has done what I didn't think was possible. You've actually made me exciting about conveyancing here, Amy. And I think that is the first and most important thing. So I think, look, that's absolutely fantastic, the update you've given us today. As ever, I would say to everybody watching here, please go and have a look at WeCOMPLETE on the wonderful pink kerfuffle.com website. You can see further information there about the business here. You can see, obviously, any future recordings we do. So do your research properly here, but reach out to them straight, because as Amy quite rightly pointed out, why would you not? It's a free trial and everything else there. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. There's the I'm contacted button on there, or reach out to them on there, obviously on website, and just obviously reiterate you're a Kerfuffle member, and hopefully we can start seeing some of our own Kerfuffle members giving you reviews about the whole process, Amy, because that's what it's all about.
Wow, that would be so exciting.
Excellent. Well, you have a fantastic day, and we'll catch up with you soon.
All right, Simon, thanks so much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.